Do not do this. Imagine going on an adventure inside a cave. You travel about 2 kilometers deep underground. Suddenly, heavy rain begins outside, and water starts flowing into the cave. You don't realize it at first, but the water keeps rising until a large amount fills the cave, trapping you inside. Let's see what happens when something like this actually occurs and how people respond. On June 23rd, 2018, a junior football team in Thailand, with players aged between 11 and 16, went into a cave after their practice along with their assistant junior coach. The head coach had already left earlier. After some time, parents began calling, worried because the children had not returned home. The head coach then tried to contact the junior coach and the players, but no one answered the calls. But then, finally, one boy answered the phone and told him that his mother had picked him up earlier, while the rest of the team had gone to explore the Tham Luang cave. The coach immediately rushed to the cave. When he arrived, he was shocked to see the children's bicycles parked outside. This meant they were still inside. What made the situation even worse was a heavy rainfall. Water was rushing into the cave entrance like a flood. It was an alarming situation. If the children were inside, they were likely trapped. The coach quickly informed the local authorities. Police arrived, but it was nearly impossible to search the children because the water level inside the cave was very high and the entrance was partially blocked. The next day, the Thai Navy SEALs arrived to begin the rescue operation. They decided to pump water out of the cave to make entry possible. Fortunately, a British cave expert, Vernon Unsworth, lived in the area and had been studying and exploring the cave for a long time. He offered his help and explained that about 1 kilometer inside, the cave splits into a T-junction. One path goes to the left and the other to the right. The left path goes deeper into the cave, and there are several elevated areas where the children might have taken shelter if they were still alive. Vernon Unsworth then contacted expert divers John Valentin and Rick Stanton, calling them to Thailand because of their experience in difficult rescue missions. Days passed, and the children had nothing to eat. Their oxygen levels were dropping because parts of the cave were completely flooded. Water had pushed deep inside the cave entrance. Rescue teams set up their base at Chamber 3, bringing in oxygen tanks, food supplies, and diving equipment. 2 British divers began the search. They were about to attempt the longest dive of their lives. Their goal was to reach Pattaya Beach, where there was the highest chance of finding the boys. They moved through dark, muddy water and finally reached Pattaya Beach. But unfortunately, the children were not there. Their oxygen plan was strict. 1/3 of the tank for the journey in, 1/3 for return, and 1/3 reserved for emergencies. Because they had already come so far, they refused to give up. They took a major risk, knowing that after reaching Pattaya Beach, they would have to cover double the distance to continue the search and make it back. When they finally surfaced and lifted their heads out of the water, they saw something incredible.
How many of you? 13. Brilliant.
After 10 days, the boys were found about 4 kilometers inside the cave from the entrance. The whole media reported the discovery, but finding them was the easiest part. The real challenge was figuring out how to safely bring the children out of a cave filled with water. No one had any clear idea how to bring the children out. The next day, the Thai Navy SEALs reached the children's location and decided they would stay with them until the rescue was complete. Outside the cave, teams began pumping water out as fast as possible. At the same time, international divers from around the world arrived in Thailand to join the rescue mission. Rescuers came up with 3 possible plans. The first plan was to teach the children how to swim, so that once they were fully trained, they could swim out with the divers. The second plan was to drill down from above into the chamber, where the children were trapped, and bring them out that way. The third plan was to wait until October, when the monsoon season would end and the water level inside the cave would drop, while continuing to supply the children with food, water, and oxygen. However, the divers quickly realized that none of these plans would work. The first plan was nearly impossible because the children were weak, had not eaten properly, and had not slept for days. They had no idea how to navigate through dark, muddy water, and the risk of panic was extremely high, which could have led to death. The second plan, drilling from above, was also extremely difficult. It was hard to determine the exact location of the chamber from the surface, and even if they could, it was about 1 kilometer deep and surrounded mostly by solid rock. This would have taken 1 to 2 months. The third plan, waiting until October, was too dangerous because oxygen levels inside the chamber were already very low. On top of that, rescuers later realized the monsoon season might not end until November, making this option even less realistic. With no good options left, the situation became even more serious. Then came shocking news. Saman, a retired Navy SEAL who had volunteered for the rescue, was found dead in the water. His death was a painful loss and showed just how dangerous and difficult the rescue mission truly was. During this time, experts proposed an incredibly bold idea to anesthetize the children so they could be safely taken out of the cave while unconscious. They consulted Australian anesthesiologist Richard Harris, who was also an experienced cave diver. Harris explained that sedating the children in such conditions was extremely risky, but there were no better options available. The plan was approved. The world's best divers were brought together for the mission. According to the final plan, each child would be dressed in a wetsuit and given 2 doses of anesthetic, rendering them fully unconscious. A special diving mask would then be placed over their face to provide a continuous oxygen supply. Their hands would be tied behind their back, an oxygen tank would be secured to their chest, and a rope would connect each child to a diver to prevent them from drifting away underwater. At this point, the children's lives were completely in the hands of the divers. The operation began, and everything was carried out according to plan. In sections of the cave filled with water, the divers swam with the children. In dry sections, they carried them on stretchers, since the effects of anesthesia did not last for the entire journey. The children were given additional doses along the way to keep them unconscious. When the first 2 children were successfully brought to Chamber 3, the team's confidence grew. This daring plan was actually working. On the first day, 4 children were rescued. The next day, 4 more were brought out. On the third day, another 4 children and the junior coach remained. However, a problem arose. One child was so small that the standard mask would not fit properly. A loose mask could allow water to leak in. Fortunately, the team had brought a child-sized mask, which fit perfectly. Finally, after 17 days, the entire team was rescued from a cave. All the divers and rescuers were widely appreciated for their bravery and effort. To honor Navy SEAL Saman, who lost his life during the operation, a statue was built in his memory, a lasting reminder of his incredible cave rescue mission.